Hello there, everyone. My name is Tolu George, and I'm the convener of the Reimagine Family Project. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a mom. I'm a granny, and I'm an author, and I am also a radio personality. And I have focused my attention on changing every single family, one family at a time. You see, we can change the world if we do it one family at a time. Many of us look around at the world around us and we're concerned about what we see. We see depreciating levels of family dynamics. We see children who are growing up in a way that we are not quite comfortable with. But there's something that you can do about it. You cannot change the entire world. And the truth of the matter is, I don't even think that governments can really change the world. The power to change the world will happen one family at a time. And that is what we have committed ourselves to doing at Reimagine Family. Anyway, today I want to speak about something that I titled The Power of Authoritative Parenting. The power of authoritative parenting. Before I go ahead, I'd like to invite you to invite your friends to join you in watching this video. You can also tag a friend or two who you think this video might be helpful for. You can also visit my online store by clicking the link in bio, which will tell you how to get more resources on how to supercharge your parenting game. Anyway, before we go into what exactly authoritative parenting is, I would like to first of all point out the four main styles of parenting, the four main types of parenting styles that we have. The first one is the authoritarian parenting, and I'll tell you a little bit about all of them. The first one is the authoritarian, not authoritative, authoritarian parenting. The second one is the permissive parenting. The third one is the uninvolved parenting. And the fourth one, of course, is our topic today, authoritative parenting. Now, thank you so much for joining us, Prof. Sway. Thank you for joining us today. If you're joining us, just write in the comment section where you're joining us from, and then we'll give you a shout out and say hello. Thank you, Prof, for joining, and let's go on. Anyway, like I said, there are four main types of parenting styles, and I've mentioned all four of them. And now I would like to define what each style is. The authoritarian parenting style is very high in control, and it is very high in their expectations of the children. And I don't know if you've read Chimamanda Adichie's book, The Purple Hibiscus. The father figure in that book is the typical example of the authoritarian parent. These are the kind of old school parents that, they expect the child to have very, very high grades, and they abuse them when they don't get high grades. They tell them, look, you must come first in your class. And if they come second, they'll ask you, the person that came second in your class, does the person have two heads? And they'll beat you and so on and so forth. They are very high in expectations, and they really are very high in their levels of control over their children. They exert control by shouting and by criticizing children unduly. They are the ones that will really, really jump on your case when you fall below their expectations. They have very, very high expectations. And the truth is that there's some merit to it, having high expectations for your children. There's a lot of merit to making sure that your children are, they do the best that they can. Yes, there is some merit to it, but you shouldn't motivate them by threatening them, by shouting them, by criticizing them, by telling them, oh, you are not that, look at your mates. Can't you see how your mates are doing? Do they have two heads? No. And then the third thing is that these parents, they resort to force and punishment. They are very quick to force you to do things, to beat you. They are very quick to give you very stiff punitive measures. and they're very quick to punish you. Now, the effect on the child is that the child grows up to be generally negative. The child grows up to be generally anxious. They're very anxious. They're always trying to live up to expectations. Number 3, the child grows up with a high level of anger and defiance sometimes. Now, if you remember the story, I don't know if you read the book, I mentioned it earlier, The Purple Hibiscus. The son, the character of the son in that book, grew up to be very, very defiant. And he grew up to be very, very critical of what his father was doing, the way his father was treating his mother and his sister. And I think, he was really defiant, and he colluded with his mother, and they actually murdered their father. Now, that's an extreme case, and that is fiction. But these children who grow up sometimes become very angry. They become very defiant. And number 4, they become very dependent on others for praise. And they are always overwhelmed when they are facing challenging situations or challenging tasks. The second one is the permissive parent, the permissive parenting style. Now, these are parents that show warmth and they show nurturance, and they're generally very warm and they're generally very accepting, but they're not really involved. They're not really interested in motivating their children to do better. These are parents that allow their children to do anything that they feel like, anything that they want. I'm sure you've seen some movies in which the parents will say, oh, I'm just friends with my children. I'm not their parent. I'm trying to be their friend. So they sit down, they do all sorts of things together. The mother is trying very hard to be like the teenage daughter, and it's always usually a mess, because maybe they go out together to clubs, they go out together to all sorts of things. They get up to all sorts of things that parents should not necessarily be getting involved with their children. But that is the permissive parent. Now, what is the effect of permissive parenting on the child? Number 1, you leave the child to make decisions that they are not yet capable of making. There are certain decisions that children are not yet ready to make. These parents expose those children to those kind of decisions. Number 2, they tend to be impulsive. These children of permissive parents tend to be impulsive. They tend to be disobedient to authority. They tend to be very rebellious because they've been in charge of their life for such a long time, since they were very young, and you can't really tell them what to do because they have an idea. They formed their own philosophies, rightly or wrongly, from when they were very young. The fourth thing is that they're over demanding, and then they show little persistence in their tasks. They don't stay with their tasks. They change when things go rough. And the parents say, okay, I'm leaving them to discover themselves. I'm leaving them to I'm leaving them to do what they want. I'm leaving them to do their thing. Now, can you imagine leaving a 13-year-old to make decisions that a parent should be making? And the parent is actually endorsing and allowing that child to do that. And truly, if I were to choose, I think personally that I would actually choose the authoritarian parent. Now, the third one is the uninvolved parents. Did you know that one of the biggest contributors to child sexual abuse is neglect? Now, who is this uninvolved parent? These are parents that are emotionally detached. And the reason why they're emotionally detached is either because they are facing overwhelming problems, or they have situations, or they have tasks, or they have things that interest them more than their own child. So they don't really have the energy at the end of the day to focus on any child, because they have their own thing going on. And whatever it is that is going on, it does not involve that child at all. Now, the problem with this kind of parenting is, this kind of parenting style, it hinders development in the child, because the child does not learn how to form intimate relationships. The child does not. Thank you, M.O. George, for joining. Thank you for joining. Just comment where you're joining from and a shout out to you. This type of parenting style, it hinders the child from being able to form intimate relationships. It hinders the child from being able to recognize behavioral signals from other people, because they're not used to getting feedback from their own parent. They also struggle to develop emotional and social skills. Now, the fourth one, which is really where we're going, is the authoritative parent. Now, this is the parent who parents like a boss. This is a parent who is in charge of what is going on. This parent is not confused. This parent is not intimidated by their child. This parent is not overwhelmed by their child and their parenting activity. Yes, there are challenges, but this parent is in control. Now, before I go ahead, I want to say something. According to a psychologist called Diana Baumrind, she wrote a couple of did some research, and she said that there are four main dimensions to parenting. Number one is parenting has to do with warmth and nurturance. That means a parent should be warm and a parent should nurture. Now, that is what is missing in the authoritarian parent, and that is what is missing in the uninvolved parent. Now, the second thing is that a parent should maintain consistent control over their child. Consistent, the word being consistent. You should be consistently in charge of your child. And that is what the permissive parent is lacking in. The permissive parent does not control their child or does not control their child consistently. The uninvolved parent does not control anybody, is not even interested. Now, the third thing is the parent, it has to do with expectations. Parents should have expectations of their children. And this is what the authoritarian parent does. The authoritarian parent has consistent control and he has high expectations. But the permissive parent and the uninvolved parent, they don't. And then the fourth one, which trumps everything else, is the parent should be communicating. They should have high levels of communication skills with with their child. And that is what only the permissive parent can do. But the authoritative parent scores very highly in warmth and nurturing, scores highly in consistent control, scores highly in expectations, and scores highly in communication. The authoritative parenting meets all the standards of all the four dimensions, and it's not lacking in everyone. The authoritative parent is warm and sensitive to their children's needs, but they set appropriate limits. They set limits. They set boundaries. They don't allow their children to run amok. They set consistent boundaries. And the effect of a parent that is authoritative is this. Number one, the child has a positive mood. Number two, the child has a higher level of self-control. Number three, the child persists at their tasks. Number four, the child learns how to cooperate with other people. Number five, the child has social and moral maturity. And number six, the child performs favorably in school. Now, according to a website which I researched on, parentingforbrain.com, there are studies that have shown that authoritative parents, I'll tell you what they're like to and why you should be an authoritative parent. They're likely to have children who, number one, achieve higher academic success. Number two, they engage more in social activities. Number three, they develop good self-esteem. Number four, they have better mental health. They have less struggles with depression, less struggles with anxiety, less struggles with suicide attempts, delinquency, and substance abuse. They don't struggle with those things. They also interact with their peers and they use competent social skills when they interact with their peers. They also exhibit less violent tendencies and they are well adjusted. Now, what do authoritative parents do? What exactly do authoritative parents do? Number one, like we said, they are warm and they're attuned to their children. They are very attuned. They are involved. They listen. They don't just listen to what their child is saying. They read the child. They understand each child. They understand each of their children. They may have 4 children, but they understand. And I can relate to that because I have 3 children and I understand each of them. I know what motivates each one. I know how each of them thinks. I know how they behave under pressure. I know their shortcomings. I know the things they struggle with. And I know what it is that motivates them. I understand them. So you have to understand each of your children. So they're attuned and they nurture each child. You know that one of my children, if I shout at two of them, if I shout at them, they will understand themselves. But there's one that if I shout at, she just start crying. In fact, her father will come and rescue her from me because she is a bit softer than the other one. So the authoritative parent understands each other. They're attuned and they nurture each of their children. Number two, they listen to their children. Many African parents especially don't have the habit of listening to their children, of hearing what their children say, of hearing why they're saying it. We don't have that skill. We talk, but sometimes listen, because it is in the listening that you will learn a lot more about your child. It is in the listening that you will learn when they are struggling. It is in the listening that you will learn when they are not doing so well, when they are excited. That is how you will learn about them. Don't allow your children to be quiet. Let them talk as well, and let them talk to you. Let them tell you things that are on their mind. You will pick up things quickly, and you will pick up all sorts of trouble spots. It's like a troubleshooting session. You pick up trouble before it becomes a major problem. Number three, the authoritative parent allows autonomy and they encourage independence. Allow each of your children to develop into who they should be. Don't try to force all of them into the same mold, because each of them is different. Allow autonomy. Each of them carries peculiar gifts. Each of them carries peculiar skills. And each of them carries peculiar skill sets and temperaments. So allow them to develop, allow them to have autonomy, and allow them to be who they are, and encourage them to be independent as well. Don't force the first child to be like the second. Don't allow the second child to be like the third, because they are different people and they have different destinies and they're headed in different directions. Allow them to develop in each of their peculiar directions in which they are headed. Number four, reason with children instead of demanding blind obedience. Let your child understand why you are telling them to do something. Don't just impose. They will listen to you. They will do what you said, and you'll think you have scored something. But it is better for you to allow them to own the decision to become whatever it is, or to do whatever it is. It's not just enough for you to speak at them and to make them do things. You must also allow them. You must sell them a vision. You must sell them a vision. I remember when my son wanted to go to university, he wanted to become a professional music player or something, a musician. And he's a very good musician. And a lot of people from his school thought he was actually going to professional music. But he didn't. And I told him, I said, look, you've got these skill sets. And we went to I knew that the boy likes money. He likes physics. He likes calculations. He likes maths. He likes things, that he likes calculating. He's not a read person. He's a calculating person. So I took him, we went to his what's it called? To the open day for his university. And the guy that was speaking, there was a graduate from that faculty, and was talking about how he graduated from that very same faculty, and within a certain amount of time, he worked his way up, and now he was doing extremely well. He was about to buy a Maserati, and I was like, look, that is your future. That is something that you can aspire to if you do that. And he bought the vision, and he owned the vision. And the beautiful thing was that the fact that he studied to become what he became, he's graduated now, he's been out of school now for about 4 years, 3.5 to 4 years. And the fact that he was studying to be something in a professional discipline did not stop him. In fact, it enhanced his ability to improve his musical career, because when he went to school, he joined a church, and in that church, he joined the music team. I told him, go and join the music team. You can play. You probably can even play better than most of the people that are there. And he went and he joined, and that really, enhanced his musical abilities a lot. He got involved in projects and so on and so forth. So reason with them. Don't just tell them, you must study you must be a lawyer, you must be a doctor, you must be this, you must be that. No. Tell them that this is the reason why I want you to do this. And I want you to do it because explain to them, tell them that it's good to, even if you don't want to be a professional, whatever, you want to be a musician, it's good to have a background of education. Talk to them about anything, reason with them, explain with them why you insist on what you are telling them to do. The next thing that authoritative parents do is they set limits on behavior. They don't allow their children to behave anyhow. They don't allow their children to behave foolishly. And it's also tied to the next point. They consistently enforce boundaries. Don't allow your children to be rude. Don't allow your children to be ill-mannered. Don't encourage them. Let them know that you will not support them in their bad behavior. You will not be an ally. You will not be a resource for their bad behavior. Let them know that there are consequences for bad behavior. And if they cross that boundary, that you have set, there will be consequences. And that is what we said. You will consistently make sure that those consequences are put in place for them. Allow them to know. Let them know. Don't let them know. Don't be the parent that allows your children to get away with anything, especially if you are the mother. Most mothers are very enamored by their sons. So they allow their son to behave anyhow. Don't allow any of your children. Don't just train only your daughters to be well behaved. Train your sons too to be equally well behaved, and allow them to know that if they do nonsense, I remember there was a prank that my son played on me when he was in high school. One day my husband and I were driving back from somewhere, and he called us on the phone, and he said, "Mommy and Daddy, I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know that I've just been arrested for drugs." Drugs. We said, we first of all panicked. The phone dropped because we were driving. So the phone dropped, and my husband was like, "That boy, he's going to go to jail. We will go and visit him, but he will go to jail. He will go. We will not bail him out. He will go to that jail." It turned out that it was just a joke. He had actually been chosen to be a prefect in his school. And he and his vice principal, they colluded to play a prank. But he knew that if truly he was caught, he was going to serve the consequences. And how did he know? He misbehaved one time in school and he was put on detention. And he wanted me to come to his school to speak to his teacher that he did not deserve that detention. And I said, "No, you are going to serve that detention. Because you obviously don't say that it's racism or whatever. You obviously fell short of something that of some of the school rules. So you are going to serve the detention." And he did. So he knows I will not bail him out. He knows nobody will bail him out. So he knows that there are boundaries that will be enforced. The next point is you must use positive discipline instead of punitive, forceful measures. If your child misbehaves, don't beat them until they die. Don't use a scorpion to beat them. Don't use a snake to beat them. Punish them within reasonable limits. Punish them in a way that shows that you are not mad. Punish them in a way that demonstrates that you are trying to change a behavior. You are not trying to break their spirit. And the final point is learn to earn and not demand their respect. And let me tell you one secret. If you are trying only to be your child's friend, especially when they are younger, you may not earn their respect. But if you truly earn their respect, then they will genuinely like you. And this is my own, idea of life, of parenting. Raise your children so well that they can grow up to become your friends. Raise your children in a way that they can become people that you can be friends with. The kind of people that will be your friend, that will sit down. They are not nonsense people. They are not ill-mannered people. They are not foolish people. They are good children. They can talk with you. They are decent people. The kind of people that you would want to be their friend. Now, some people say that there's something called goodness of fit. And let me define it. It's a psychological term and a parenting term. And it says that it describes the compatibility of a person's temperament with the features of their particular social environment. So some people say that, look, this authoritative parenting doesn't really work. That some children are soft, some children are hard. Some children you have to hold them with hard hand, and some children you have to hold them with, like egg. Now, the truth is there is a difference between a parenting style and a parenting practice. A parenting style is the emotional climate in which the parents raise their children. And a parenting practice is the specific action that parents employ in their parenting. There's a difference. And that will guide, the parenting style is what will guide how you relate to each of your children. Like I said earlier, some of your children are soft, some of them are hard, some of them are tough, some of them are lovely, some of them are, but it is the prevailing climate. Now, how you will discipline each child might be different, but they should know that there is a standing level of how things should be done. Now, I want to come to the final part and then we'll call it a day. Now, these are things that an authoritative parent will do. And like I said, tag a friend, invite someone. We'll be back again next week, Wednesday. Invite someone. But now we're going to the final part, things that an authoritative parent will do. And there are about 8 points. First of all, an authoritative parent is not afraid to hug their child. Is not afraid to cheer their child up. And is not afraid to smile a lot with their child. A lot of people don't like to smile with their children, or they feel if they hug them too much, or they are always in a good mood, they have to show them who is boss. No. You can smile at your child. You can hug your child. My son is an old man. He towers over me. He's even moved out of the house. But whenever I see him, I give him a hug. I give him a kiss. He's not even embarrassed because I've always done that anyway. He's not embarrassed to do. He himself will come and give me that hug and that kiss. Why? Because it's a culture. He'll go and hug his dad. He loves his dad. He'll go and hug his dad. We are not afraid to let our children to do PDA. My husband, if you know my husband and I, we don't do PDA. But with our children, we do PDA. And we are not ashamed of it. And they are not ashamed of it either. Number 2, make your child do chores. Make sure they get good grades. And make sure they show good manners to people around them. Don't allow them to be ill-mannered. Don't allow them to be the kind of child that when they see your friends, they don't greet your friends and it's okay. No. Force them to greet your friends. If they walk past your friends, call them back. You've not greeted auntie so and so. Make them have good manners. Don't allow them to talk anyhow to the domestics in your house or to the people who work for you, because they don't work for them. They work for you. They are not employed by them. They are employed by you. Teach them to have good manners. Teach them to behave like correct human beings, not like riffraff. When you look at people who come from privileged backgrounds, they generally behave nicely. They may be stupid people, but they have good manners. They know how to behave. Teach your children good manners and require them to do chores. Don't just let them wake up in the morning and sleep and you're running up and down by yourself. They must learn how to do chores. They must learn how to serve in the house. Number 3, provide children with the opportunity to develop good self-regulation skills. Now, when I say let them develop good self-regulation skills, it suggests that Lazarus says, sell them a decision. Allow them to make choices that they want to make. Allow them to decide to work hard. Allow them to decide. Just tell them, as long as you get good grades. That's the most important thing. But know that I'm expecting you to get good grades. I'm not expecting you to play PlayStation all term long and then you come and tell me that the teacher did not teach you well. No, I'm expecting you to work hard. However you choose to do that, I'm expecting good grades. I'm expecting good behavior from you. And I'm expecting you to make my life easier without having to misbehave. Number 4, they will monitor but not do their children's schoolwork and homework. Now, many parents think that they need to do their children's schoolwork and help them. Some even pay examination officers to cheat for their children. No, don't make your children, don't do stuff for your children, especially their homework. Don't do their homework for them. Why? Because they need to learn to do it themselves. They need to learn it from themselves. Let them do what they are supposed to do by themselves for themselves. I see parents in certain countries, they go and pay people to write their children's exams, to do their homework. When the child starts to work, are you going to pay people to work for them? Thank you so much, Funke Gina, for joining. A shout out to you. Are they going to help people to do the work for them? Can you imagine a child whose parents have paid for the child whose parents have paid for them to be cheating in exams in secondary school, cheating in medical school, and that now they're a doctor and they're coming to operate on you? Would you be happy with that? A doctor that doesn't really know what he's doing? No, that would be putting yourself at risk. So you need to teach your children how to do their things. You need to monitor them. You don't need to do it for them, but you need to be sure that they're doing the work that they're supposed to be doing in their school, not just messing around. You should allow them to do the work that they're supposed to do. And like I said, number 5, an authoritative parent will use open communication. They will use explanations, and they will reason with the child to foster individuality. They will talk to. I remember one particular time when my son he was just finishing high school, and he was used to us driving him all over the place. Anyway, they were going to start. They were going to start the BRT system in our area, and he was like, he's not planning to go on any BRT. I'm like, you're not going on which BRT? That do you think you are any better than those that go on the BRT? You had better go on that BRT. Why? Because you are going to need it. And when you start work, I'm not going to be driving you to work. When you go to university, you don't have a car. I can't buy you a car yet for university. So you had better learn how to go on public transport. And we spoke about it. I was like, look, you need to go places. The thing is comfortable. The thing is available. Why are you looking down your nose at a bus? You understand? And then he embraced it. And then he learned how to travel on his own without needing mommy or daddy to drive him everywhere. He became independent. That yes, I don't have to sit at home and wait for a driver or wait for somebody. I can find my way there. And he learned to. Number 6, their high standards will keep their children's behavior in check. These authoritative parents, they have high standards. And they're not expecting their children to do less than their best. And they've communicated to that child that, look, we're not expecting less than your best from you. So that child will naturally rise up. They don't set low expectations. Now, I want to make a dichotomy here. There are some children that their best is 50%. I knew a young girl who was useless at maths. And the day she got 50% in her exams, the parents almost threw a party for her, and this 50% was because she employed the services of a teacher. Now, there are some children who, when they struggle and do their best, they get 65%. That's the best. You've taken the best out of them. Expect them to produce that 65%. Don't allow them to produce 50%. Insist that they must produce the best that they are capable of producing at any point in time, in any area of their lives. Number 7, they will be consistent in their enforcement of discipline, boundaries, and consequences. They will not do something today and I'll give you an example. Your children should know that if they do this, this is what is going to happen. They should know that there are certain things that they're not allowed to do. And if they do it, as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, there will be a consequence. And don't skip that consequence if they have willingly done the wrong thing. Don't skip it. Like I said, don't be mean. Don't be horrible. Don't be wicked. Don't beat your children with a snake or a scorpion instead of a stick. No. But let them know that if they are rude to you, something will happen. Don't let them be rude to you today, then you scream and scream and scream when they embarrass you tomorrow, and then the day after you are quiet, and then the day after, don't be inconsistent. Let them know with a surety that if they are rude to you, if they are rude to your spouse, if they are rude to somebody, something will happen, and that thing must happen. When they know, then when they understand the consistency in enforcement of discipline and enforcement of boundaries and the consequences, then it helps them. They feel safer. They feel much safer. Let them know that it's not going to be business as usual if they behave in a certain way. Also, let them know that you are expecting them to do certain things in the house. They are supposed to maybe do their chores before they watch TV. Don't be inconsistent. Try as much as possible. Maybe during the holidays they can play, and then during the school hours they will do their homework, and then they will watch TV. But they cannot watch TV for the whole day and do their homework whenever they like. Let them know that these are the things that happen, and try your best to enforce it, because routines help children they provide a guideline for children, and they help them to keep safe. The final thing is, the authoritative parents could be strict, like I said, but they are not mean. They are not mean. They are not wicked. They are not wicked. Like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I spoke about the purple hibiscus. You can go to the library and borrow it or buy it on Amazon. The purple hibiscus. The father figure in that book was a wicked man. He was outgoing. He was a huge pillar in society. He was a huge pillar in church, but he was a very wicked man to his family. He was extremely wicked. The authoritative parent can be strict, but they are not wicked. They are not wicked to their children. They are not wicked. The children know that whatever it is that they're experiencing is coming purely from a place of love. So thank you. In this broadcast, we have looked at what authoritative parents do. We have looked at different parenting styles. We have looked at how these different parenting styles affect each child, and the effect that these parenting styles, each of them, has on the children. And I trust that today you are going to start your journey to becoming an authoritative parent, because in 2022, we have to begin to change the world, one family and one child at a time. Thank you for joining me today. See you next week.